On your Tuesday, and we have some itty bitties coming right your way. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Black Spring with Autumn on your Tuesday. It is, and I have been delayed, but the information I think is still more than vibrant, and it still has it holds weight. I think wherever the thumb hits the scale. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of It's Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I'm going to give a quick word of thanks to our sponsors, our patrons, and of course the viewers like yourself. And just hang right in there because I'm going to drop the pendulum and we're going to get going right away here. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Marcy T., Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Black Spring with Autumn on your Tuesday. It is. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to go to our first liner. Hello, Luciano. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you're stinging us right away with the guys. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm sure I'll get up to speed here in just a second. So what I'm on about today is something that I think that many people foreshadowed in that we've seen it, us conspiracy theorists. This kind of goes with conspiracy theater, right? So this is, to me, shoring up on that. Like even the fact checkers, what are they going to say? They're just going to deny it and drop their little bits in there. So I'll tell you what it's about. We're going to talk. Hi, Mad Militant. How are you? Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Nice to see you as always. Thank you for supporting us here. And also thank you to you, Luciano. So we have Be Aware. I'm going to take you to the first liner right now. And it's going to be dealing with the mocktails. This is at some level, this is getting boring. This is getting so boring. So boring, this conversation, the CV19 and all of the, it really is. It's gotten so tiresome, but they're not done. And I have been saying that this is not an I told you so kind of a bit. It's not over. Okay. This is just kind of toying with you a little bit, seeing how far they can go. So what we have is some language. This is going to be, I'm a little bit ahead of the curve, I guess, because this has a date on it. So April 1st, I'm hearing of one date for something else that I'm not covering, but this one is, I think, anticipated on the same date, April 1st, which happens to be April Fool's. If anybody out there has anything to share or impart about April Fool's, Please give it to us and give it to us straight. I mean, are they, is it a mockery? Is it them mocking the people? I mean, it's a hell of a release date, right? It's kind of mockery, right? It's a safe mockery, right? Mockery for your calendar. All right. So without further ado, there is a date coming out, and the date involves the CV19. And it's actually coming from your favorite non-political, non-biased agency, the CDC. So I'm going to be sharing with you. I might toggle between two screens here. We're going to start with the first one. We're going to start with this one first. Okay, so I'm going to give it to you straight. Hope you guys are doing well out there, and this pops up for you. A little ad business. So this is, I want you to know that the new ICD-10 CM codes for partially and unmocktailed patients. So, we know where you stand on that. I'm sure you guys do. However, let's go with it here. According to this was posted. This is a blog. So let's do this. We'll come back to the blog, but I want to go to the actual article here. We have a new diagnosis code for the CV19 inoculation status. So that's what I'm on about. We're talking about the new status and how you're going to be coded. And so just hang on one second. I'm going to share that screen with you. There was a blog about it, but this one is much more recent, and they're calling it's a diagnosis. What was it? Murder diagnosis. Do you remember that show? Or what is it? Something like that. New diagnosis codes for the CV19, I'm saying inoculation status. They said immunization status. Okay, so this is coming from the AAFP.org. Okay, so according to this, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services have announced 3 new diagnosis codes, including 2 for the CV19 immunization status. The following codes will be available as of April 1st. So I don't know if you got any appointments coming around on that time. For one, as you can see to your left, perhaps the ICD-10-CM description, the Z as in Z, 28.310 is for the unmocktailed for the CV19. That's your code. Pick your code. Okay. Which one do you identify with? Can you get the one that you identify with? Okay. Now, the next one is the Z number 28.311. A partially unmocktailed for the CV19. The next one goes into Z, or Z as in zebra, 28.39, other under immunization status. Okay, according to the ICD-10 CM guidelines, clinicians may assign code Z to 8.310, quote, the unmocktail for the CV19, end quote, when the patient has not received a dose of any CV19 mocktail. The clinicians may assign the code Z28.311 for the partially unmocktail for the CV19, end quote, when the patient has received at least 1 dose of a multi-dose of the CV19 mocktail regimen, but has not received the doses necessary to meet the CDC definition of, quote, fully mocktailed at the time of the encounter. Encounter. It's the words here. Getting funky, right? Funky. Encounter. For information on what constitutes, quote, quote, fully mocktailed, end quote, visit the CDC's website. New code Z28.39 is for reporting when a patient is not current on other non-CV mocktails. All right, is that killing you or what? Do you see that you're getting tracked right now? You're gonna get marked. What are we getting marked for, people? The pendulum's out there. Come on, bring it. Bring the heat. If you come on, bring the heat. That's all I'm asking. If you're coming on, bring it. See who else is here. The efficient urban therapist. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Are you new here? Or is it just really cool? I'm missing it. Freedom's March is here. How are you doing? Mad Militant says, I think it's being used to cover their tracks. They're falling apart. Well, I know it's just, it's loaded to me. But let me go back into that really quick because this is, okay, we'll finish this one out here. At the bottom, it says, per the ICD-10-CM table, quote, these codes should not be used for individuals who are not eligible for the CD19 mocktails as determined by the healthcare provider. See, to me, all of that's gray. The index and tabular addenda for the new diagnosis codes are also available on the CDC website. This is Kent Moore, senior strategist for physician payment, American Academy of Family Physicians. So, that gives you some information there. But to me, this is feels like some type of discrimination or whatnot. Or will you be denied services? Or will you be given a different level of care? Or will this be something that will be attached to your health plan? Or will there be different waiting rooms? You guys see what I'm saying here? How is this going to, what is this going to do? It's just going to continue to divide people. See, this is why I'm telling you, I've been saying this for a long time, this is not over. They have not stopped campaigns or you took the mask off or you lifted something. You lifted it, but you didn't really, you're still under the auspices, or you're not free of it. Okay. It just seems like maybe they loosened it. They loosened the screws a little bit, but you're not free of it. You're still under this auspicious occasion. You're under this emergency. When they start using words like encounter and the fact that they start, I think I'm hypersensitive or hypervigilant about everything that I see right now because I'm trying to learn the language. And I think learning the language will cut through, so much that's going on here. So those codes, if you're just joining us, I'm going to zoom you back in one more time. So you might, I don't know, maybe you want to screenshot this, or those of you watching in replay, you can see that all of these codes right now start with the Z28. And basically they're kind of going from lowest, from the bottom, they're out of order. So you have Z28.310 for the unmocktailed for the CD19. Then you have their Z2.8 at 311 for the partially unmocktail for CD19, and Z2.8.39 or 0.39 under immunization status. So I don't know if you want to play around with this in the tables over on the CDC, but with the definition as broad and as wide as they've had, are you actually really keeping up? Are you really, they can change. This just to me just kind of shows the power that they've always had, whether it's not a Merriam-Webster dictionary. This is the CDC website. The definition of anything can change. Everything is living and breathing, right? At least that's what they want to imagine. Everything is just living and breathing. It's not. But the elite, they get to determine what an encounter is or who is not eligible, but there's no specifics on it. Okay. It just stays wide. The wider it is, the more control, they have. So yeah, most people aren't going to look at this, but you do your diligence, do what you do, and cross check wherever you want. I always encourage you guys to do your due diligence, do your own research for your own sanity and whatnot. Let me address this. That's kind of an elephant in the room, and I'm sick of it. Thank you, Luciano. He says, is this Oscar fiasco a design distraction? Sources say it was staged. Well, it looks staged to me. And I don't mean to go off on a rant, but to me, I don't think that's the way you hit a man. I've never seen a man hit another man like that before. I'm like, were you hitting a man, or were you imitating a woman? Like, that's what they call a B slap. That's a B slap to me. That's not even an open hand. An open hand, people. It's a little weak, right? Where are the fists? Why didn't Chris Rock come back with a fist? Maybe he needs to show him what it means to pick a fight. I don't know. But I tell you what, I don't need to see any more black on black BS. That's what I don't need to see. So they need to save that. act and be fake responsibly, people. This song, I say this all the time. What's it? Robbie something. I can't think of Robbie's last name. We have stars directing our fate, and we pray it's not too late because we know we've fallen from grace. Millennium. This is the kind of crap that I'm talking about. They always direct. They think they are directing our fate, and some people are really under the spell. They are under the cast. They're under the spell without a doubt. There can be no. Yeah, they are directing some people's fate, and I'm not drawn in by all of this. I don't care about Chris Rock getting smacked by Will Smith. I wouldn't care if it was the opposite. I wouldn't care anymore if Chris Rock had slugged him or be slapped him, because to me that's not a manly way to approach anything. I'm saying if you're doing some violence, come on. That was the girliest, that was the most gangster slap heard around the world. Woo, woo. What a joke. What a joke. And everybody's all outraged. The talk that Will Smith did, his response was tougher than the slap that he gave. So spare me. You're giving them what they want. Maybe they're in the tank. They're in the crapper. They needed some zing. I don't know. I'm just saying. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to say I know I have stripes or anything, but where I'm from, that's not the way a man would hit a man. It's not. The boys wouldn't even hit a boy like that. So I'm not impressed. You got to do better. You got to do better, Hollywood. It's a weak distraction. It is. I agree. It's a distraction. I don't think it's real. I don't know. These people act for a living. Do they know when to turn it off? When are they not acting? Can you show us that, Chuck, please? Yeah, but thank you, Luciano. I've seen some people so emotionally invested in this. I almost said the word, this B slap. Come on, my mom hits harder than that. Give me a break, people. Give me a break. Give me a break. Okay, so I just had to go there. Luciano, you know how to get things going around here. All right, so Alex Bleeping Jones. So there you go. What we were talking about here, the people's pendulum is out there. If you want to jump in on this, if your mother hits harder than that, come on in and tell us about it, because mine does. Yeah, that part. Okay, not even a shiner, right? Not even a shiner left. All right, they're reaching. They're reaching. Is that what they're reaching? They're thirsty. They got to deliver a slap like that for ratings, or just I have no idea. But thank you. Hi, Marty Lauderdale. Thank you so much for coming in. Nice to see you. And let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, some of these people are more upset about that than they are about food shortages. Call me when it's over. Gary Gage, how are you? Hello, Alex Bleeping Jones. It's nice to see you. Fancy Truth, how are you? Angry Conservative says, stopping by before my happy hour stream. Thank you, Angry Conservative. We're ready for it. We're ready to be lightened up. But tell us, the pendulum. I'm going to put it out there. Did I put it out there already? Yeah, there it is. There it is for the second time. Oh, the quote, official, end quote, urban therapist says, it's no distraction, just entertainment. Okay, we'll take that. Because, everybody wants to focus on, everybody wants to be entertained, right? They want, even if it's a fake, even if it's a weak slap, right? Even if it is, right? That's all they want. That's all they want. Okay. Who else? Angry Conservative says, can't you ever be quiet? I try, but they won't let me. I get sick of this stuff. This is not I don't know. They're scraping the barrel right now. Okay, they are. Okay, so Gary Gage says, I made a big old quote pig in the pit end quote barbecue last weekend. Yum yum. Ooh, let us see. Let us see next time. All right, guys. So we have. I'm going to go away from that particular the code. So if you were interested in that, the unmocktail, there was a code for you. So I don't know if this means when you go to the healthcare provider, if they are going to be coding you like that, they're going to hit your insurance like that. Look who's here! It is the one, the only Derek C. Williams. Derek C. Williams, how you doing?
Yes, ma'am. Shout out and respect due to Black Springwood Autumn Intelligence done right. How you, young lady?
I am doing well enough. I'm glad to be here. How are you doing?
Living my life day by day like Rambo. That's all.
What I
Yeah.
love your shirt. What have you got for us? Tell us. Tell us
Well,
anything you want. Bring the heat. Whatever you got, bring it.
nah, I'm just about to do some little. I just got off work like maybe about 40 minutes ago. I'm gonna go ahead and do my little quick workout. I try to do a little something at least 4 or 5 days a week. But I started you alive, so I said just let me come up and just give you a good 5 minutes or whatever. Um,
Anytime.
Yeah, I saw that when I got to work yesterday, that's everybody was talking about that, and I'm thinking to myself, if I brought up, because I asked a coworker, I said, have you ever heard of this guy by the name of Klaus Schwab? And he looked at me like I was an alien, and I asked him, I said, have you ever heard of Dr. Kerry Made? And they stopped, everybody stopped. And I said, well, you know what, y'all continue, carry on. I ain't even get into it. And what it is, I'm saying that for this reason. They going with all of this TV stuff when none of that matters. They trying to turn you into robots from the inside out. And they're gonna do it. They're going to billions. Humanity as we know it is hanging on by by a hair. But
Mm-hmm.
everybody's talking about that. But then so about maybe 2 3 hours later, my man, I'll just call him E. E came back and said, Derek, that dude crazy. I said, but that dude runs the world. Cause he went to go look him up. I didn't get into nothing. I don't preach to nobody. I don't get into that. I just simply said the name. Now, if you say Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett, all this nonsense, yeah, everybody know it. But I just kind of threw a curveball. I said, any of y'all know Klaus Schwab or his top advisor, this guy by the name of Harari? Have y'all heard some of the statements he's made regarding humanity, what human beings will be in the next few years? Your belief. I'm sure some of y'all are Christian, some of y'all are Muslims. None of that gonna matter. Let him tell it. In fact, all of y'all is cannibals with some of the stuff that this guy has said. But that's what we stuck on. We just long story short, Black Spring, we just got a bunch of it's just bread and circuses, man. But just like what you said, none of that matters. Don't none of that matter. Y'all better folks need to be concerned about what that dude is saying and what others or Ray Kurzweil or Kurzweil, yeah, Ray Kurzweil. I always get his name mixed up. But these are the people you need to be. That's what matters. But I know it's not really going to make a difference with most people until it actually hits home, and I understand that. But it just like sometimes, you and I have talked offline, and a lot of times I just be feeling so out of place. Mad Militant salute. Um, I just be feeling so out of place because don't nobody know a damn thing. They just
It's something. It's serious. It's serious, and it's like you're in an alternate universe, like surrounded by what? What are we surrounded by, Derek C. Williams?
and just let me say for full disclosure. Let me say
Okay.
for full disclosure. This Philadelphia 76ers are here and they're in a good thing. I mean, I know. I mean, I'm not as deep in the league as I used to be. One time believe it or not, I used to be proud of the fact that before the expansion, before they had the Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets back in the mid 1980s, I can tell you the starting five for about damn near every team in the league. Because at that time, I think it was like maybe 2017. And I knew the starting five for everyone. And I thought that that was a sense of pride because I can name all five. None of that matters. But I was going to say that I'm going to take my daughter to her second NBA basketball game should they make the playoffs. So, I mean, entertainment has its place. But we are just so obsessed with it is what I'm trying to get at. And I just don't know. Like I said, a lot of times, man, I just be feeling out when I go to work or I'm out. Like, I have me a little drink or whatever, and nobody is talking about this stuff that matters. And I understand a lot of folks don't know, and many don't want to know. Got all that, but you'll see, folks gonna see, and it just scares me because when I was able to go live, you may have saw me cry because I know what my daughter is going to inherit. And heaven help a child is born today. Heaven help them. Heaven help them.
Well, I remember that was a very special live stream, but it's almost like we're watching a train wreck, and we see it. Only a few of us can see it, but it's like we're in a room and nobody can hear you trying to warn you. Nobody can hear you. You're screaming. You're saying you're being look. Don't step off the curb. You're screaming in the crowded room, but nobody hears you. It's the same kind of effect. And Derek, I'm fresh out of, I'm not doing any conversion therapy that's done.
I don't speak to my blood brother. I do not talk to my brother's name is Brian. I do not speak upon this with Brian, Natasha, Cedric, or the triplets of Jamie, Jimmy, and Jamise. I do not even speak to them regarding these issues because I know they just not there. So, and of course, I done came up, this is some of their talk, Mississippi talk for you. You done went up north, you think you Farrakhan now, and all this old crazy, it ain't got nothing. Nah, I mean, as you can see, I happen to read a lot, yeah, so, guilt is charged, but But I was gonna say, for any people who have not watched, it's an episode of the Twilight Zone called The Shelter, and this guy, he was in the medical field, and he was trying to tell his friends like, "Yo, why don't y'all chill with the card parties and cookouts and all that, and just accept the fact that the worst is possible? Perhaps you want to start getting some extra water, storable food, medical supplies, some firearms, some heaters, stuff like that. Just a little bit at a time. Nobody's saying you're supposed to break the bank with getting prepared, but have stuff nonetheless."
Well, let me just interject just for a second, Derek. But to your point, what do you think about this administration? What's being spoken about food shortages? I mean, have you heard? I'm saying, like, the people that, he said there will. Did he say they would be real, or is that hyperbolic?
He said there will be.
There will.
He said it will be. There will be food shortages, and I'm paraphrasing the second part, but I think he said something along the lines, "It's going to hurt." Well, I've told you many times, I don't talk about it unless I do it or I done looked into it. I've been getting storable food since 2015. Right.
Wow.
So I'm like I said, compared to some of my friends and family, I know I'm way ahead than most. I ain't nowhere close to Mike Adams, none of these survivalists. But for Black America, I know I'm far ahead, many of them. Last week they was talking about the nuclear war and all that. I didn't have potassium iodate since about 2007. So I have water, some heaters, if you understand what I mean. Storable food, medical supplies, stuff like that. Just get a little bit.
Right.
Just get a little bit. But see, I tell you that. See, I can tell you that because we of like mind, but you can't go to work. You can't go to most of your jobs and talk stuff like that.
No.
They're gonna look at you like you crazy. So I just don't. But what I do find is that a lot of times people just out the blue, well, Derek, what you think about such and such, but they would never dare say it in a setting of just you all too. So say if it's like 5 or 6 people, no one would dare dredge up subjects like this because I understand it's uncomfortable, but I guess people can't articulate what they want to say or they just don't know. I don't know. But I don't even speak. Like I said, I tell you and the people who is on whoever's in your stream, they know it now.
Yeah.
But I don't speak upon it aside from that. So,
well, Derek, I really appreciate you for coming on and and we are in a, dare I say, we're in a class by ourselves, or we're in an orb by ourselves. But what's somebody showed something one day. They showed a highway of people that were prepared versus the people who were not prepared, and it was basically a highway gridlocked. And then on the side with the people that were prepared, there were like maybe 1 or 2 cars, and basically open. The road was wide, the highway was wide open for.
And see the downside of that is I've said twice. I told you that, but see, the other side of that is you don't want to tell too many people, because just like in that episode of The Shelter, everybody knew that the gentleman had everything you needed, and they was ready to kill this dude. They was ready to kill him to take his stuff because he had it, and savages and animals are going to come for it. So in many ways, it's best that you do keep a lid on things. And you just said, because I tell my daughter, I use the phrase, you got to leave them to die. You got to leave them to die, because they're not going to, that's when the animal in you comes out. If I'm hungry, if I'm hungry or cold and you got it, I'm coming for you. So in that scenario, you have to keep your cool and you have to keep your mouth shut. So, you want to help people, but once again, it's those who are of like mind. That's the people you going, So in many ways, I guess you kind of could say we speaking to the choir, we talking in the echo chamber, but that's what you got.
That's it, And like I said, and I don't, like I said, I have family members, and they're all just, they're all bugged out. If I could illustrate with the eyes like in a cartoon or a comic book, their eyes are just, they're gone. I can't put my energy on that. I need all my energy for myself. I can't deal with people stealing my energy. I can't. But it's real.
But again, I'm gonna pivot back to what I was saying earlier. The fact that you have people that you don't really talk about, and they are the ones that's pulling the string. But we're so fixated on the Dog and Pony Show as if they are somebody.
Right.
And because I'm what I'm going to do is when I'm going to drop down and I'm going to find this compilation piece from this Harari dude. And those are in the chat, or yourself, Black Spring, listen to this dude. He talk as if it's going to be just like kind of like when con man Fauci said that the incoming administration will face a challenge. How would he know that?
Right.
This dude that's Klaus Schwab's right-hand man, he's talking as if this stuff is going to come to pass. Black Spring, when I heard him talk, I was on my way to work, and I was on a bus. I commute. I got the car and all that, but I commute. I just started crying. Man. It just.
Well, I'm. Please bring it, or either you could do either one. In my case, you're always welcome to email me.
I'm going to find.
We're gonna. Well,
I'll just quickly find the compilation piece and I'll drop it in the stream, because I'm gonna step off now and do my little exercise. But I just wanted to thank you for having me on, and I'm again you, Felicia Lockhart, Media Bear, Snapzilla Gorilla. At least the people I know, ain't too many talking about the stuff that matter. Not too many. They talking about. They talking about this Manosphere and Kevin Samuels and Tommy and all of the Tommy Sotomayor. None of that shit matters, man. None of that shit matters. But
Not at all. That's what
folks
they
like,
want.
but folks like what they like. Got you, got you, got you. But they, so just thank you for having me on, and you take care of yourself. All right.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Derek C. Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Derek C. Williams. Please check him out. And anything you wish to drop in, you're welcome. You have the stripes to do what you need to do or share what you want to share on here. And you're welcome back. And please BS me. That's backstage me anytime.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Will do. All right. You take care
All
of
right.
yourself. You to your chat.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Ladies
Yes,
and
ma'am.
gentlemen, that is Derek C. Williams, and Derek C. Williams has been around, has been supportive of this humble little channel since for a long time. So one more time for anybody that's just coming in, hello, Uncool Paranoia. Just FYI, the pendulum's out there, and for those who are just joining us, I just want to tell you what I'm on about right now. We're talking about how the CDC has come up with an actual code that's going to be codes that will be released available for April 1st. So if you're hitting these hospitals or whatnot, you will find out, for yourself, what you might ask, as soon as they hit you with that, are you mocktailed or not? This is what they're doing it for. And I don't know, they're identifying you for not, whether you have it or not. So let me zoom it one more time, and then we're going to go on to the next. We're going to go on to the next liner. Because I told you we're kind of leading in decadence and all this lewd and just debauchery. It seems it's celebrated. All these things are celebrated in this country right now, when the other nations are doing the opposite. They're banning. They're banning a lot of the things that we are celebrating and whatnot. So if you're just tuning in. Great commentary from Derek C. Williams, and such a great thinker and a great communicator. Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams. So the liner goes, the new diagnosis codes for the CV-19 immunization status, that's coming from your CDC, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services have announced these 3 diagnosis codes, including the 2 for the CV-19 immunization status. And the following codes will be available as of April 1st. I'm going to tell you the truth. I think these codes are available right now. These codes were available in February. They're just now telling you about them. Anything that they tell you that's coming, from my estimation, and this is for you, you do your own due diligence. I always tell you to do that around here, and I mean that when I say it. But do your own due diligence. But to me, those codes have been out. I don't know if any of you, have you been in urgent care? Have you been to ER? Where have you been? Wherever you may have been for some treatment, they are going to ask you the magic question. So you got 3 categories right now. You guys know where you stand on here. You know that. I thank you guys very much. So we're going to get ready to move on to the next one. And thank you, Derek C. Williams, for coming in. And, I don't know what to say about these people that are just, they're just zombied out. Like their eyes, like I said, if I had, an illustration, I'm going to find that illustration, or either I'll make it myself and just flash it on there and let you see these people's eyes are like, they're like this. But I'm even hearing, shout out to Marcy T, wherever you are. Thank you so much, Uncool Paranoia. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you could make it in. That even April 1st, something else is going on. Does anybody else have anything peculiar that they think is coming on April 1st? I wish Marcy T was in here, because I think she tipped me off on something else that's happening on, it's a little auspicious, right? A little auspicious. I haven't looked into that particular matter, but I kind of want to save it. Or if Marcy T comes on, maybe she'll address it. But if you guys know, the People's Pendulum is out there. So I welcome you to come on in and bring the heat whenever you come, do what you can do. But we appreciate it around here. We want to talk about things that affect us in the long run. I don't really, a B slap from Will Smith to Chris Rock, that's, like I said, that's not the way people get you. That's not even a slug. That was pretty weak. And why do we need to see more? Why do we need to see an example of a black on black? Why do we need to see that? I swear, the stuff that they lead with, what a deal. All right. So Matt Militant's here says, I think it's major information is dropping on the first. Really? Really, Matt Militant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Marty Lauderdale says, hi, everyone. I missed saying hey to you guys earlier. So thank you, Marty Lauderdale. Hope you're doing well. And Luciano says, I hear they're getting $60K per diagnosis now. Oh, the tracking is going. The tracking is real. That something's going on without a doubt. But, things will not be the same. Luciano says hospitals are death camps now. People going in for a broken leg and not coming out. That burns, Luciano. That burns. All right. Let's see. We have something from Gary Gage. He says Japan used several different methods to clear the body of uranium infection. One of them was dried banana peels, and another was a diet heavy in seaweed. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Gary Gage. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Luciano says we knew this 3 years ago. That's Marty Lauderdale. Thank you. Angry Conservative says, I think they are trying to keep us from hearing what the resident in chief is saying. I don't think people have heard him. I don't know what they're saying, but Luciano says, remember, they put a ban on NAC, a precursor to the glutathione, which detoxes heavy metals and dissolves biofilm. It turns out that NAC detoxes, I believe that ban was overturned. Well, I don't know if Derek C. Williams is out there. Like, you guys got to start BSing me, and you know what that BS stands for. If you want to give some data out like that, we have to. We're talking in code around here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on to the next liner, which I find this to be in the spirit of the lewd and all these acts and things that are going on. Derek C. Williams has the link here for us for Noah Harari, one of the most evil, quote, humans to ever walk this earth. So he's got the compilation there for you. I really appreciate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next one. And this one is going to get a little political. If you got a strong stomach, or if you're not surprised, you may not be. But this involves this young House representative. It's Cawthorn, I believe. And I do believe that I did hear the audio of something that he shared, or he's sharing, I guess, the lifestyles of the DC Petri dish, I guess. But I'm going to take a quick break and come back and tell you what was going on there. And but the People's Pendulum is out there, so you feel free to tag in on anything. But like I said, we're celebrating all kinds of things in this country, and everybody else is going the opposite way. So let's do a quick little break, and I'll be right back. If you got something for us, or if you just want to come in and share your pain from the pump, we'll be right back. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So what I want to do is go to, this is like, the politicians, and it's just a testament to some things that we've kind of already known, like, what is it, DC, the Capitol and all that stuff. That's their temple, right? That's their place. I mean, what is it, Pelosi? She kind of she speaks that language a lot. She has her own, or either she's speaking the language for them, but I think she gives up a lot. There's a lot in what she says about the Capitol and the inside, and it's there. I mean, she may have even used the word sacred, or to me, this stuff is, pretty blasphemous overall, and it's dark. And she wears, I remember her wearing, what was it, the day after that, was it the first Trump impeachment or whatever? What was it? Yeah, it was something. She was wearing like a scepter. Was it like a scepter, like a gold scepter and a black dress? I'm just telling you, I just think that there's a lot more symbolism that I have to learn, but it's in our faces. They're very bold and they're very brazen with it. And I just had no idea. But the more I think back to some of the things that have gone on, I can't see it any other way. I can't unsee what I've seen if you're picking up what I'm putting down. All right. So we're going to move on to this next little story. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take you to, it's going to come from thesalon.com, and then we'll probably round this one out with Biden asking for $88.2 billion to prepare for future pandemics. I thought Bill Gates was doing all that, was running his mouth. It never stops. It never stops. How do you know? How can you plan? Are we forecasting? We're forecasting the human, almost the human condition to me. We're forecasting, not just disruptions, but, suffering. Who does that? It's like, that's kind of like, it's like these people want to be a part of everything. They want to be everywhere. They want to be omnipotent. They want to, that's what I'm talking about, like the God complex I think these people have. They want to control everything. And they use language. They use their own language to do it. So let's go to this next one here. I was just curious about, the part. I mean, I'm not a fan of DC. I wouldn't live there, but I'm not surprised. Okay, I'm not surprised. But the fact that he is kind of exposing this, I don't know. We'll see how far that goes. All right, so we're gonna blow this up, for the lack of a better word. Yeah, Marty Lauderdale. These people talk. I'm saying it is their. Yeah, that's a dark place. Okay, so here we are. Madison Cawthorn claims, quote, orgy, end quote, invites from people, quote, I've looked up to through my life, end quote. Yeah, well, that sounds, yes, yeah. I'm not sure. This is by Sarah K. Burris. So this is just showing this is the pen woman or penship. Can I say that? According to this is from the Raw Story. This article originally appeared on the Raw Story. Give you a little bit of lineage here. Rep. Madison Cawthorn, he's a Republican of North Carolina, revealed that Washington, D.C.'s world of elected officials consists of 60 and 70-year-old elected officials inviting him to sex parties and snorting cocaine. I think a needle is what he referred to it as, here we go. So here we go. Quote, the sexual perversion that goes on in Washington. I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington with the average age of probably 60 or 70, end quote, said Cawthorn. Quote, and I look at all these people, a lot of them I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys, that, then all of a sudden you get invited to like, well, hey, we're going to have to kind of a sexual get together at one of our homes. You should come there. Like, what did you just ask me to come to? And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy, or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove addiction in our country. And then you watch them doing, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild, end quote. As one observer noted, Cawthorn doesn't generally, quote, hang out, end quote, with Democrats. He hangs out with other Republicans. So his observations are coming from those he's observed. Republican strategist and Bulwark columnist, I'm sorry, I almost said that word, Columnist Tim Miller revealed that he had contacted Cawthorn's office to ask Cawthorn and if Cawthorn intends to reveal the person who invited him to the orgy. Okay, I've asked Cawthorn's office if he intends to identify the orgy inviter. So let's play a little bit of this. So you guys got a strong stomach tonight, I hope so. We'll get it done. Here we go. It's redirecting us here, so hopefully we're keeping up here on the screen. I don't want to get this mixed. I don't want this to get missed here, so just hang tight here. Hang tight. Get it from the horse's mouth. It's better than mine, right? Let's see, what do we got here? Let's see if we got it. Are we going? Okay, so I'm gonna have to switch the gear and change you over to it because it's taking us to an actual. It's taking us to the Twitter so you can hear it from Cawthorn himself. Hope you guys do well out there. So you can see the kind of decadence and stuff, what we're leading in when Biden says this is an inflection point and that we have to lead and this is not, it's pretty bad. Okay. So I'm going to blow this up for you or maybe not. All right. So this is what you're going to get. I guess this is an interview with Cawthorn himself. And him talking about it. Maybe we could have started here first, but here we are.
With
it's about to get serious. Yes, I am.
With Kevin Spacey, and I forget who else was in it. But anyway,
really well done show.
Very well done
show.
But it was so dirty, and it was about this congressman who was Kevin Spacey, who was I think he was minority or majority whip. Well, yeah, and so a very, very powerful guy. And it was just kind of like his secret life of all this corruption and power and money and perversion. And it was just dirty. How much, in your opinion, because you've been behind the veil, is this a fictitious show? Or is this more closer to like a documentary? Is it that bad?
So I heard a former president that we had in the 90s was asked the question about this. And he gave an answer that I thought was so true. And he said, the only thing that's not accurate in that show is that you could never get a piece of legislation about education passed that quickly.
And everything else is good.
Aside from that, I mean, the sexual perversion that goes on in Washington, I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington, where the average age is probably 60 or 70. And I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild.
Okay, so there you got, you kind of got it from the horse's mouth, which is much better than my interpretation. So that's what you got. You got that article, you got that actual little piece of that interview there to work. So it's true. We're leading in more, I think, debauchery and decadence, and these are your leaders, right? They got their temple, and who knows what else that's unspoken and that we don't know about. So let me read some comments here. Yeah, I want to thank Derek C. Williams for popping in on this evening. I really appreciate that. I thank you so much for coming in. And let me just read this here. Luciano says left-wing hacks use codes in their meaningless statements. They freaked out because we know their codes now. Gary Gage says a good host is the, quote, donut, end quote, to explain the dark world leaders. Marty Lauderdale says, yes, she did say it was a sacred temple or something like that. See, thank you, Marty, for helping me reaffirm that I'm not a total conspiracy theater viewer. I see MD Mad Militant says, I got Obama asking for the same thing 6 years before the ninja got here. Might premiere it later tonight. Okay. Hey, you guys don't you guys develop your own language in here and not tell me about it. I need to learn. And Marty Lauderdale says, so true. It never stops. Marty Lauderdale also says it's psychological spirit. It's psychological spirit war uses a lot of trauma-based abuse tactics. It's very effective. Marty Lauderdale says, quote, she's spiritual, not spirit. And she says, wow, this is my representative. I liked him, but then he kind of dropped out of sight. I was wondering why. Okay, so I decided to bring that little element in on this stream because, like I said, it's interesting that somebody would bring it up. The fact that anybody would even bring it up or allow themselves to be recorded saying anything, because little old people like us little rubes, they would never believe that was going on. They would never believe it coming out of this channel. So we're going to go on to the final piece. Hello, Joseph Francis Burton says, I don't doubt debauchery and perversion exist in DC, but I don't believe Rep. Cawthorn until he names names. All right. Thank you so much, Joseph Francis Burton. Thank you so much for coming in and supporting us. And we're going to come right back. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and switch over to our second liner on this Thursday. All right. So I want to thank you guys so much, but we do have just a couple of words from our friends over at the JBS. Thank you for tuning in. This segment of our show is brought to you by our good friends at the John Birch Society. Less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. The JBS is a constitutional and educational organization that's been around for over 60 years. Dedicated to upholding and defending the Constitution and working to preserve our freedoms and liberties in this country. The JBS does not endorse any political party or candidates. Rather, it focuses on the education, training, and development of the American voters. All right, guys. I always give my shout out to my friends over. I mean, they do a lot of good work. They get a lot of, and they've been around for a long time, and they've been called everything under the sun, but everything that they've called has been right on the mark. So kudos and shout out to the JBS, and especially Alex Newman. Love his work. All right, so let's get on with our last piece in this debauchery of a political system here. All right, according to this, Biden asking for $88.2 billion to prepare for future pandemics. Does that sound like a forecast for you? Do you hear that? For future, you need money. For a future, it's like a war chest, right? You need the money. But what about right now? Aren't we spending like out of control right now? Okay, I'm going to stop talking and keep going here. All right, according to this, President Joe Biden's budget proposal released Monday calls for a, quote, historic, end quote, $88.2 billion to prepare for, quote, future biological threats, end quote. The, quote, mandatory funding, quote, would be distributed over the course of 5 years among the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, ASPR, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, the Department of State, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. According to the proposal published by the White House on Monday, quote, the Biden-Harris administration has made great progress in combating COVID-19. Is that right? And building better health security to protect against future pandemics and other health emergencies. However, much more is needed to prevent future biological catastrophes, end quote. That, quote, much more, including the following: $40 billion is proposed to be sent to HHS and ASPR to invest in advanced development and manufacturing of, quote, countermeasures for high priority threats and viral families, end quote, such as mocktails, therapeutics, diagnostics, and personal protective equipment, PPE. The proposal added that those funds would be used, quote, towards the ambitious goals, end quote, of developing, oh boy, here we go, it's never going to stop, mocktails and therapeutics within just 100 days of identifying a biological threat. Within 130 days, the president wants to produce enough mocktails for all Americans and even support, end quote, surge production to rapidly meet global needs, end quote. In other words, the mocktail trials for the new biological threats would be developed and tested for some 3 months before becoming available to the public. Then the budget proposal includes $28 billion for the CDC, quote, to enhance public health system, infrastructure, domestic and global threat surveillance, public health workforce development, public health laboratory capacity, and global health security, end quote. Most likely the funds would be used in foreign and domestic biolaboratories to study, quote, potential biological threats, end quote, as was done in Wuhan. All right, so here we go. The money would also be utilized to, quote, modernize public health data collection, end quote. We've been talking about that a little bit, right? It's become common knowledge that data collection and its production is challenging for the CDC. Recently, the nation's top healthcare agency was found to have miscalculated critical CV-related statistics. In some cases, the agency deliberately withheld data over political concerns. The proposal suggested that if the agency receives more funds, it will help it with forecasting future threats. One could argue that that would be more easily achieved by monitoring the grants of the Department of Defense, the National Institute of Health, and its subordinate, the National Institute of Allergic and Infectious Diseases. Speaking of which, Biden will ask Congress to allocate $12.1 billion to the NIH, quote, for research and development of mocktails, diagnostics, therapeutics against high priority biological threats, end quote. That point of the plan mentioned that the CV mocktails were created thanks to, quote, 20 years of prior federally funded scientific research on the CVs. End quote. Now the NIH should continue its research to ensure that mocktails against the, quote, priority viral families, end quote, can be made in just 100 days. Now, guys, are we seeing a pattern here? Are we seeing a pattern here? Okay, an additional $1.8 billion would be spent to make sure the research on the, quote, biological threats, end quote, is done safely. $1.6 billion is proposed to be given to the FDA to, quote, modernize and streamline, end quote, its infrastructure, which presumably would hasten the approval of mocktails developed at lightning speed. Last but not least, Biden wants $6.5 billion to be spent on, quote, transform global health security and pandemic preparedness, end quote, for CV variants and whatever other biological threats could emerge. See, this is what I'm talking about. We talked about this before, where I said that Fauci actually attended the Davos, the meeting this year in Geneva. He went to the Davos meeting, and he basically is an advocate for global health governance. So I think all of this stuff is going back into that. I think they're gonna try to get this whole infrastructure thing up and running, and see that might even be a part of, you know, the information that they're going to be able to get with certain technologies. And I think with 5G, I mean, I'll stop there. The president argues that because, quote, a biological threat anywhere can turn into a health emergency everywhere, end quote, the Department of State and the USAID should be working on establishing a global structure that would address biological threats. Of those funds, $500 million would be given to the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, this organization, whose motto is "New Mocktails for a Safer World," end quote, was launched in 2017 by the World Economic Forum. Doesn't that make you feel good? With the money of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, quote, to finance independent research projects to develop mocktails against emerging infectious diseases, end quote. It comes as no surprise that the Biden administration views it as a major player in its global strategy. Look at that nice little bow of people that we talk about all the time in here. Citing the warning that future CV variants, end quote, could have severe consequences for U.S. health and livelihoods, end quote. The proposal reminded us that the Biden administration has launched the Pandemic Innovation Task Force, tasked with developing tools to tackle future pandemics. The proposal concludes that collectively these, quote, activities, end quote, will create capabilities America, quote, urgently needs, end quote, to respond to future pandemics and other biological threats. As reported by the New American, the Biden administration unveiled a quote, preparedness plan, end quote, for its next phase of the pandemic response earlier this month. The strategy is based on 4 pillars: protecting against and treating Americans for CV, preparing for the new CV variants. You see, the new ones, the ones we don't even know about, that somebody knows, but we don't know. Preventing economic shutdowns and leading the effort to mocktail the world. Get it? Mocktail the world. The plan's goal is to, quote, stay ahead of the virus, end quote, relying on the powerful layers of protection that are already available, and by investing in the next generation of tools needed to address the emerging variants. See, emerging. The current proposal appears to be much more costly than Biden's previous plans. Back in September 2020, the Biden administration put forward a plan of $65.3 billion for pandemic preparedness to be spent over 7 to 10 years, but Congress has not acted on that proposal. And finally, the Bipartisan Prevent Pandemics Act is currently moving through the U.S. Senate. The measure is estimated to cost $100 billion in the first year, $20 billion to $30 billion in the following 2 years, and $10 billion to $15 billion annually thereafter, per the Rockefeller Foundation. It does not include the just unveiled major funding proposal. Just a few dollars, right? Just a few dollars. How are you guys doing over there? Thank you so much. The pendulum is out there. We're gonna reel it in about 5 to 10 minutes. I appreciate you guys so much for coming on. Let me scroll down here and see what we have. We have Disavowed Podcast is here. That's a lot of money, right? It's a lot. I mean, I didn't realize this came out yesterday. I wasn't aware. I have kind of let the drain go a little bit, on some of these political things, because it's hard to watch. It's hard to see it in real time. It's gotten so thick, and it's just, in your face. It's tough. Marty Lauderdale says the kid better be careful. It's not just the CIA that's got 6 ways to Sunday. Shaking my head. I'm sick of all the corruption. Teach, Marty Lauderdale. Gary Gage says the JBS. Well, see, that's why the JBS has had a leg up on this stuff for years, and they have stuff to back it up with. Real people, real people, boots on the ground, for the lack of a better word, in these places. I think they actually go to Davos every year. But we're all crazy. Don't say anything about Schwab and his friends. Okay, Disavowed Podcast. I already feel safer with Biden in the White House. Okay. All right. Marty Lauderdale says, quit stealing from us. Go away and let us be. Guilty. Be happy. We let you be. All right. Marty Lauderdale says the labs need to shut down. Damn these people. All right. So you guys are DJ Vision Barnett. How are you? Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. It's nice to see you as always. Disavowed Podcast says, yes, we are seeing a pattern. I can't believe how wisely our government spends money. Yeah, it's just like we're just in a frenzy. Two Hats is here. How are you doing? Thank you so much. And Marty Lauderdale says, yep, Autumn. Most of all these major players in this whole scheme have dirty secrets. Let's see. Marty Lauderdale says they're bleeding us and our country dry. It is, certainly. And Luciano says that slap was real as a. Oh my gosh, Luciano, you always have it. You take us where we want to go, where we give us the release that we need. DJ Vision Barnett says, hey everyone. I appreciate you guys so much for coming in on the 11th hour, but please check out those codes. I want to recap those codes. They start with Z28. And yeah, I'll just one more time for the people in the back or anybody that just came in. I guess if you're a health worker or in that industry, you'll see it yourself if it's there if it's rolled out or the coding is rolled out by April 1st. Luciano says, I think Charlie Schwab was the person funding the joint. Probably. I have not seen those stones. I haven't seen them, but I know what you mean. All right, guys. What else do we have here? So it's quite a bit of information. I think this particular information, I think on the coding is very important. I think they're getting ready to make their next move, whatever that is. So I want to thank you guys so much as always for coming in on the Thursday. Okay. All right. So just one more time, I'm going to flash the screen. I just want you to see this, see the code for yourself. If you see it anywhere else, then you'll know where you've heard it first. All right. So these are your new diagnosis codes for the CD19 immunization status. And this is courtesy of the CDC and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The announcement of the 3 new codes. You have the Z28.310 for the unmocktailed, the Z28.311 for the partially unmocktailed, Z28.39 for other under immunization status. I'm not familiar with that. I don't know. That's very vague. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't. Does anybody else know what that means? You're under, who knows? Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And thank you guys all for coming in. I really appreciate it. Marty Lauderdale, where would I be without all of your kindness and your wisdom around here? Thank you so much. On the Rev, how are you? Howard, thank you so much for coming in. Gary Gage says Luciano, Hillary Clinton was the first person to complain about. Yes, she was. She did, and they totally projected it on to the last situation. We'll just call it the last situation. So I'm gonna go through and say hi to everybody in the stream at this time, and thank you guys for supporting us. And this is the thing: if you can't support this channel by any financial means, this type of support, having you guys come on. I want to thank Derek C. Williams for coming on. Uncool Paranoia, I want to thank you so much for coming, for being able to get in here today. It means a lot. You guys can get here with everything that's going on out there. So we have Luciano. Thank you so much. Keeping us laughing and giving us information at the same time. Mad Militant, thank you so much. Freedom's March was here. Thank you, Freedom's March. And I'm catching up on your streams. Great work as always. Check out Freedom's March. We have a lot of people, a lot of trailblazers. We have a lot of, just great thinkers and great communicators. The quote, official end quote, urban therapist. Thank you so much for coming in. Fancy Truth. I appreciate it. Gary Gage. Alex Weeping Jones. And I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anybody here. Luciano, Gary Gage, Jermaine G was here. Thank you so much, Jermaine G. Hope you're doing well out there. Thank you for watching. Uncool Paranoia was here. Thank you so much. And let's see, I think that's pretty much going to wrap this one in. If we'll pack it in on this one. Disavowed Podcast says, I already feel safer with... Okay, I hope you guys are doing well out there. On Rev, thank you so much. Thank you, Gary Gage. It was great to have you guys here. I really appreciate it in these times when we can still come here and do, and share alike. I really appreciate it. Mad Militant says, I'm working to get that video up now. It will be about 1 a.m. in the morning. Got another video up already at 10. Yes. Okay. I'm going to be looking for that. I might be up at that time, with the way I'm sleeping these days. So hopefully this is a notification. if I get the notification, because I think some people are being shadow, marked, and I'm not getting at the volume I was before. And Joseph Francis Burton says, "Thank you for another great live stream. Discussions are as always top notch." Well, thank you from the man who brought us gas equity about a week ago and gas equality. So yeah, watch out. See, that's just what I'm talking about. I think this kind of stuff is going to happen. I think this kind of stuff, this equity stuff, is going to start happening. If these food shortages come in, people are going to be, they're going to come in, they're going to be ready to take. They're going to be ready to take, and and some of them are going to be as whatever as that other guy was, as chill as he can be. I don't even remember where that was, but he was siphoning gas and doing whatever from that guy's tank. So yeah, man, I'm just going to get enough to get to the gas station. He says, you're going to steal from me? He was like, yeah, man, I'm going to steal from you. I'm telling you. And it's all the people that, that don't read, that do these, that will be doing this stuff. So I appreciate you guys once again for tuning in to this segment of It's Thursday. All right, guys, thank you so much again. And I'm going to be saying so long. We'll see what happens the rest of the week. And I'll try to get things out to you as soon as I can. All right, guys. Until then, let's see, I have one more comment here. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening and have a great Wednesday.